Welcome to the Hustler's Corner podcast. I am your host, Emeka. I'm an actor, entrepreneur, and a student of self-development. On each episode, my purpose is to bring you an inspiring message that supports your journey for growth in life. My intent is to leave you feeling empowered and motivated to push through any obstacles in pursuit of your goals and dreams. I'm grateful for your time with me today, so let's get started. Welcome to episode 9 of the Hustler's Corner podcast. Thank you for being here with me today. I hope you all are doing great and you had yourselves a wonderful weekend. I certainly did. Yesterday I was able to get a massage which was long overdue, and now my body is feeling loose and relaxed just the way I like it. If you're also overdue for a massage, I encourage you to hurry up and get one. They're always amazing. A huge thanks to those of you that have subscribed to the podcast. I sincerely appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed already, remember, you can subscribe to the podcast either through iTunes, Google Play, or Spotify. And for news and updates, please follow us on Instagram at the Hustlers Corner Podcast and like our page on Facebook as well. I've been looking forward to today's episode. It's one that I can very well relate to, and I'm excited to share it with you guys. Our area of focus for today is about dealing with change. Now, the one thing that is constant in our lives is change. We deal with change all the time. Changes in the workplace, or when you leave to work for a new company, a change of residence or a location. Maybe you move to a new country and you're dealing with a change of environment, a new language, new school, new friends, changes in our relationships. Maybe you've been in a relationship that lasted for years and now has ended and you're trying to get back into the single life. Or perhaps the opposite. You were single for some time and now you're in a relationship where you have to compromise and you're adjusting to that. Or maybe you're dealing with a loss, someone who used to be actively present in your life, but isn't anymore. Dealing with change can be difficult and stressful, because a lot of times, when a change occurs, it can be out of our control. And when we don't have control over a situation, we tend to get anxious and stressed out. But change can also be a good thing. Today I'll talk about the challenges we experience when dealing with change, what we can do to adapt, and even take advantage of the changes that occur in our lives. Because there are benefits to change. It ultimately comes down to how we perceive the change in our lives, because our perception will determine how we respond. Now, when I relocated to Canada from Texas in 2013, it was a big change for me. I pretty much hit a reset button, and it felt like I was starting from scratch. One of the challenges I had to deal with was the change in weather, going from one extreme to the other. Because as you know, Texas gets pretty hot, and Canada tends to freeze. I experienced this firsthand during my first winter. In 2013, there was a bad ice storm, and a lot of homes and buildings lost electricity, which made things even worse. Just like a lot of people who were affected with the loss of power, I too lost power for 3 days and had to stay at a friend's place who was lucky enough to still have electricity and running hot water. Let's just say I wasn't prepared at the time, and that was a proper ushering into Canada for me, because I had to go buy the right kind of winter gear. And I don't even think the folks in Canada ever really get used to the winter cold. Seriously. I also had to deal with losing my network of friends established in the States. People that I would see and talk to every day or every week, and now look to establish a new network of friends, which has proven to be a challenge at times because people already have their groups of circles established. Friends that they've known since university or for years, and aren't necessarily looking to have a new best friend, quote unquote. But I'm grateful to have met a lot of great people since I moved to Canada. I also had a similar experience when I moved from Nigeria to Texas. Talk about a huge change. I had to adjust and deal with a culture change, some language barriers, racial biases, and an overall understanding of the country's government and laws, which is a whole lot different from the laws in Nigeria and the way the government operates. But having gone through that change, I learned how to be resilient and to adapt, which definitely helped prepare me for the second time around, when I moved to Canada from the States. Now, let's look at some of the challenges we experience when dealing with change and how we can better respond to changes when they occur in our lives. Number 1, acceptance to change. It can be very hard to accept changes as they occur in our lives. This is one of the biggest challenges in dealing with change, because we become so used to a certain way of living that when a change occurs, there can be a lot of resistance. Now, this resistance can look like holding on to the past, not wanting to let go, not accepting the present and things for what they are right now. This resistance can create internal conflict, bitterness, and despair. So what can we do to be more accepting of change as it occurs in our lives? Look for inspiration in the change. Being able to accept changes in our lives puts us in positions to be able to create new experiences and encounters. This understanding of our ability to create the new will generate an inspiration and motivation within us to keep going and to employ our freedom to decide what to do next. Denial is a powerful force, and it protects us in many ways. However, stepping outside of it and saying to ourselves, things are changing and it's okay, can be less stressful than putting it off. So embrace change and be accepting to it. Number 2, stress and anxiety. Dealing with change can bring upon a great deal of stress and anxieties. Trying to get adjusted to a new environment and you aren't accustomed to the way things work. Maybe you relocate to a new country and the immigration process is slow and cumbersome, but you need a work permit to start work because you're running out of your savings and you become stressed out and anxious all the time. That's tough. Or maybe you quit your job to start a business and now you're constantly worried about money and you're always stressed out. Stress has a profound effect on our overall health, and how we respond to stress is very important. So how can we better respond to stress? In times of stress, we need to maintain our focus on being strong, healthy, fit, and resilient. To be resilient, we need to be calm and in control so we can make good, clear, and rational decisions. We also need to focus on our exercise and nutrition. This doesn't have to be anything exertive. You can practice yoga, or even going for long walks to clear your head is sufficient. Practice meditation. You can sit still for 10 to 15 minutes in silence and be mindful of your breath. Take slow, deep breaths and observe your body as you release your breath gently on the exhale. You can also practice other relaxation techniques. Stress can also be good if you choose to see it that way. You can ask yourself, what is the stress trying to help me accomplish? Is it trying to help me excel at an important task? Or is it trying to help me get out of a toxic situation? Regardless of the kind of stress, how we choose to respond to the stress will make a huge difference on how we deal with changes when they occur in our lives. And number 3, fear of change. In the midst of change in our lives, we can become afraid of what the future might look like. This fear creates negative thoughts and patterns in our minds that assume the worst case scenario. What if things don't work out? What if I fail? What if I'm not accepted? Thoughts like these will leave us in stagnation and can prevent any kind of progress. So anytime we feel fear arise in the middle of a change, we need to stop it dead in its tracks. And here's how we can do that. Focus on your strengths and values. Ask yourself questions like, when I dealt with change in the past, what did I do? What worked for me? How did I handle it? What actions did I take? Remind yourself of just how powerful and resilient you are and hone into those attributes. Also focus on your values and what brings meaning to your life. It could be family, friends, or religious convictions, past accomplishments and achievements, great music and expressions. Focusing on your values will remind you of what's important in your life and will help you deal with the change that's happening. And also focus on the positives that can either occur or that have already occurred as a result of the change. Maybe due to the change, you were able to meet some new people and start new relationships. Maybe the change helped you become more assertive. Maybe you started practicing healthier habits. And maybe you even became more politically active. It's important to acknowledge how things have gotten better as a result of change. So focusing on the positive is a huge way of dealing with change as it occurs in our lives. Now, number 4, loss of control. Sometimes we feel a loss of control when experiencing changes in our lives. Because we're being exposed to something that's new and unfamiliar, we may not always feel as if we are in control and are thus out of our comfort zone. For example, maybe you're in a relationship that has now ended. You both have lived together for a few years, but now you have to move out and get your own place. The change in the norm can feel like a loss of control, because what you're used to and was able to control is not the case anymore. So what can you do if you feel this loss of control when a change occurs? Well, for one, understanding your role and how much you can change can help put things in a better perspective. Ask yourself, how much can I control? What can I do to support this change? And take action. Make a to-do list and check each item off when you complete it. If the unwanted change is within your control, take an active approach to dealing with it. Focus on your strengths. Set new goals to proactively address any challenges. This will help build your confidence when faced with the feeling of no control in the midst of changes as they occur in our lives. Now, lastly, you can seek the support and counsel of others. A lot of times when we're going through a change, we feel alone, isolated, and overwhelmed. But we are not alone. We all go through life-changing situations, some more eventful than others. It's important to remember that there are people we can talk to, whether it's close friends, family, or seeking professional help. Being able to express ourselves to others on how we are feeling and dealing with change will also allow us to release a bit of that stress so we can vent and just be. This also opens us up to receive advice on ways we can better manage the change. It could be someone who we know who has gone through a similar experience and is willing to share tips that could better help us deal with the change that's occurring in our lives. So don't be afraid to seek the support and talk to others when we're experiencing big changes in our lives. So to recap, we talked about the effects change can have in our lives and how to recognize the positives that have occurred as a result of the change. We also talked about the challenges of dealing with change and the things we can do that'll put us in better positions to respond and not react to changes as they occur in our lives. Just really quickly, the things to remember when dealing with change are: focus on your strengths and values and not your fears. Focus on the positives and not the negatives. Be more accepting to change and less resistant. Set goals and take action. Seek support by speaking with others. And the one thing I forgot to mention, but is just as important, be patient with yourself and others. Because when a change occurs, a lot of times it takes time to normalize and for us to get used to it. So remember to be patient with yourself and others in the midst of change. Because change can be a beautiful thing and is sometimes necessary on the road to success to achieve our goals and dreams. Hey guys, I want to thank you for being with me today on the Hustler's Corner podcast. If you like what you heard, please share this episode with at least 3 to 5 people or anyone you think needs to hear it. If you would like to get the show notes from today's episode, you can go to the website www.thehustlerscorner.com and click on the episode tab at the top of the page. Make sure you check out next week's episode. I hope you have a blessed week, and let's continue to grow, inspire, and support each other. Thank you, and one love.